Hello, Srishta. Let's just wait for a couple of minutes before we start with today's topic, which is depressive disorder. So it's 10:31. We shall start at 10:33. Those who are joining, thank you for joining. Please stay connected. We'll start in a couple of minutes. We shall start in a minute. Please stay connected. Hi, Chrysolite. Thank you for joining. Okay, we shall start with depressive disorder. People can join slowly as and when they feel comfortable. So, depressive disorder, it's a highly misunderstood disorder in the country. Even not in the country, in the globally, it is a highly misunderstood disorder because many symptoms of depression are similar to some other disorders too, or other state of mind too, and people often think that they are suffering from depression, whereas they are actually not suffering from depression, they are suffering from a particular state of mind. So, I thought it is imperative that we talk about depression in detail, especially when our video came out on depression. So, it's better to have more clarity on depression. So, first things first is depressive disorder is different from sadness. Depressive disorder is different from trauma. So, sadness. What is the difference between depressive disorder and sadness? Is sadness is transient. Like as human beings, we ought to feel sad at certain point of time. We do feel sad about if things do not go according to our plan, or if suddenly there is things does not, there is a mess up of the situation. So we feel sad, or people do not stick to their words. We do feel sad about those incidents, but it is transient. That means sadness will come, sadness will go. We will be sad for 2 days, 3 days, and then again we'll be fine. Depression, again, on the other hand, is a very lingering effect. We can be depressed for weeks, for months, for years, and we feel extremely overwhelmed or hopeless. That is the actual term for depression. On the other hand, if I'm talking about trauma is 2 to 3 stage up than depression. So, what is the difference between trauma and depression? Is depression is a state of mind which happens due to various reasons. Trauma means you have gone through some serious life changes. That can be an accident, that can be death, that can be some kind of a change which your mind was not able to take, and there is a complete break in the mental process that leads to trauma. So trauma is different from depression because although the symptoms might be similar, like you might feel extremely sad, extremely overwhelmed and hopeless, but trauma, depression, sadness, these three are three different things. Now, why am I talking about all these three different things? I have had patients who have come, who have spoken and who have said that they are depressed, but when I spoke to them and I talked them out, and I found that it is not depression, it is basically sadness. And the moment that particular state of mind is over, suddenly you feel okay. And I have also spoken to people who think they are going through depression, but they're actually not going through depression. What they're going through is trauma, because there have been major life instances they have gone through, which appears like depression, but it is not. So, what is depression then? Depression is an overwhelming impact or a feeling of hopelessness and helplessness that will linger at least for a period of 2 weeks, constant without any change. It might increase, but it will not, you will not suddenly feel better one day and again after 2 days you will feel sad. No, then it is not depression, it is just transitory mind states. But depression is like a lingering effect where you feel that you don't have any interest in your daily activities, you will lose pleasure in what you are doing, you are isolating yourself from a lot of people around you, and it basically impacts the way your life functions, and that will be at least for a period of 2 weeks at least. So a consistent period of 2 weeks. Now, depressive disorder is a part of, it's a disorder, it is considered as a disorder in both DSM or ICD-11. So DSM and ICD-11 are the guidebooks that is used in terms of psychology across the world to diagnose which kind of disorder it is. Depressive disorder comes under one of the major disorder only when the symptoms persist for a period of 2 weeks or more than that. Okay, so if you are facing similar symptoms of depression, but not because of depressive, not because of any changes in your life, but because of certain medications. So there are a lot of medications that are used for schizophrenic patient, or there are medications that are used for patients like who are going through some kind of epilepsy. For these kind of people, those medicines that are being used, that also have an impact like depression kind of an impact. The symptoms are more like depression. So that is not considered as a depressive disorder. It is considered a depressive disorder only when it is because of certain things that is happening in your life, and not because of some drugs induced or some medicine induced. Okay, please feel free to ask questions if you have any, because I will be basically talking about giving you a global picture of depression. It is very important to understand that, because 90% of the people say I am depressed, but out of that 90% or 70% are not depressed. And the moment you say, tell yourself, I am depressed, you're actually inviting symptoms that you're depressed. So it is very important to understand that. Stop calling yourself with the name of a disease. The more you call yourself with the name of a disease, that I am depressed, I am anxious, I am this, I am that, you are not able to understand or find out that there are certain other aspects of your life which is more important than the disease. Okay, so you can say that I have a depressive symptom or I am going through a depressive state, but don't cause I am depressed, because then your entire individuality is lost somewhere and you only thing that remains is depression, right? So now the question arises, what are the symptoms of depression based on which you can consider somebody as a person who is going through a depressive state of mind? There are two categories of symptoms. The first category is the psychological symptom, and the second category is physiological symptoms. So what are the psychological symptoms? Psychological symptoms can be, of course, you feel extreme sad, helpless, hopeless most of the time of the day. It's not only during night or only during daytime. Most of the time, the major portion of the day you feel extremely sad and overwhelmed, and you lose all your interest towards the activities that you do in your daily life. So daily activities as in normal activities like eating, sleeping, meeting friends, you are just losing, or even watching television, watching web series, you're just losing interest. All you feel like it's better to sleep, it's better to be in that state rather than inviting anything else in my life. Third is, often people might feel the excessive guilt. There is an excessive guilt that is there in their heart, or they feel that extremely worthless, they are of no good, they are hopeless. That feeling of helplessness is there. The fourth thing is, you will show some agitation when you talk. There is some, not aggressive, but you're irritated mostly. And fifth is that you will have a recurrent thought of dying. Okay, there will be a recurrent thought of death, there is a recurrent thought of that you might end your life without with or without any specific plan. So you might have a specific plan of death, or you might not have a specific plan of death, but you do feel that it is better to end your life rather than lead your life. These are the psychological symptoms. Now what about the physiological symptoms? Physiological symptoms would include unexpected weight gain or weight loss. That is one physiological symptom, because when you're depressed, you either stop eating or you start eating more to to feed the emotion. Basically, whenever there is eating disorder, it is not feeding the need of the body, it is feeding that emotion. So either you start eating a lot and you put on weight, or you start losing weight drastically. At least 10% of your body weight will be lost during depression. Next is you will have insomnia. Of course, you will have problems sleeping. Then you will feel extremely fatigued, loss of energy. You will not have the energy to do anything. You will not be able to think logically. You will not be able to pay attention, because your mind is always clouded with a lot of thoughts. And there can be symptoms of anxiety, panic attack, diarrhea. Yes, indigestion is another symptom of depression. Sweating, or too much pain in certain body parts. These are the physiological symptoms. Now, not every person would have all of that. It is impossible. You cannot have all these symptoms together to be classified as a depressive disorder. But what can be there is, out of all the symptoms that I spoke, at least 5 symptoms would be consistent for a period of 2 weeks to consider somebody as clinically depressive state of mind. Okay, so only couple of state might be just a transitory phase. They are not yet a depressive, it's not yet a disorder. They are going through that state, but it is not yet a disorder. In order to classify it as a disorder, at least 5 symptoms out of all that I spoke for consistently present in the person for a period of 2 weeks. Okay, any questions so far, anyone? Anybody, any question before I move on with the topic? I'll just wait for a minute before I move on with the topic to see if you have any questions. So well said. Misusing words like depression for everything on the sadness spectrum could lead to confusion, to say the least, and phantom symptoms. Absolutely, Chrysolite. Because the more, the kind of thing we keep on telling ourselves, that has a major impact on how are we going about throughout our day. So if we keep on feeding ourselves with words like, I'm depressed, I'm depressed, I'm depressed, I'm depressed, of course I will invite depression. And if I keep on telling that, maybe it is a very transitory phase, but see, I have such bad luck, everything, always bad things happen to me, so I'm inviting those things. And nowadays, in fact, in the last 1 week, I have met around 10 people, 10 patients online. All of them are cases of depression, according to them. But when I spoke to them, what I found is, it's only 3 were actually depression, 1 was trauma, rest all were just like that, state of mind, the sad state of mind, that's it. So yeah, let's move on with the topic. So far we have spoken about what is the difference between depression, sadness and trauma. We have also seen what are the symptoms of depression, and we have classified them as psychological symptoms as well as physiological symptoms. We have also seen that in order to classify somebody as clinically depressed, it is very important to have at least 5 of all the symptoms that I have discussed for consistent for a period of 2 weeks. I just gave this as a recap for the people who joined late. What to do when someone feels they are depressed but actually they aren't. I'll come to that. Yeah, that's the last part of today's live, what to do with that. Is there any relation of PCOS with the depression? Yes. Sometimes a PCOD leads to a lot of hormonal imbalances, because of which it might induce a little depressive state of mind, but alone PCOD cannot lead to depressive disorder. So a lot of I have seen a lot of gynecologists actually tell that PCOS leads to depression, or you might feel sad like this and that. But ideally, PCOS can create hormonal imbalance, which can be one of the factor or which actually make you more prone to depression. But that does not mean that only PCOS will make every woman depressed, because at least nowadays every second woman has PCOS or PCOD. So not every second woman is depressed also, but it makes you a little bit more prone to depression. But if we are taking care of the the other aspects, then of course you do not slip into depression, right? So let's move to the different types of depression. Now, why people might be thinking all depressions are same. No, there are different types of depression that people might go through. The first one is called single episode depressive disorder. The single episode depressive disorder means it has never happened before. It just happened. This is the one episode that has happened right now. You don't have any history of depression before in you. But I'm not talking about the family, I'm talking about yourself. Okay, you're most welcome, Monica. Second is bipolar depression. Now, bipolar disorder is actually a part of depression. Now, what is this bipolar disorder? Bipolar disorder is also known as manic depressive. Now, bipolar means sometimes you have periods of elation, you are extremely happy, and sometimes you have periods of sadness, you are extremely down. Bipolar disorder is one which needs medicines. Bipolar disorder cannot be treated without medicine, because there is a there is some neural changes that happens in the brain, because of which you need medicines in case of bipolar disorder. Third thing is called recurrent depressive disorder. As the name suggests, recurrent depressive disorder means you have multiple episodes of depressive disorders in your lifetime. It's not one episode you have had before. Maybe there had been a gap of a year or few months, and again you are having that. So there is recurrent, it is. The next one is dysthymic. Dysthymic depression means somebody who has mild or chronic depression that can happen between 2 to 20 years. That has been found to last from 2 to 20 years. Minimum 2 years and maximum 20 years. Mild and chronic depression. This has comorbidity. If somebody has dysthymic depression, that can lead to comorbidity along with depressive disorder. And the most interesting type of depressive disorder, I think that even I have a little bit. So that is called seasonal affective disorder. The seasonal affective disorder is when it is, this usually does not happen in India actually. I was just kidding. This usually happens in the Western country where there is less sunlight. So seasonal affective disorder is primarily those disorder where it's too gloomy, less sunlight, too much of rainfall. So because of this season, you get into the depressive state. Your body doesn't get vitamin D, their body doesn't get the natural sunlight, so you usually slip into the depressive state. And if it's seasonal affective, because there are a lot of people who feel extremely well, extremely happy when it's sunny, and they feel extremely gloomy when it is raining. Similarly, people like me feel extremely happy when there it's raining, and sometimes I feel extremely irritated when it's too sunny. So it depends from person to person. Usually this particular disorder is prevalent in the Western countries, the seasonal affective. And what's the treatment? You just expose the person to artificial sunlight, artificial light, like the one you have in studio. If you put that light on the person's face for over some let's say 1 week or 2 weeks, they slowly come out of depression. That's why it is seasonal affective. It is not affected by any mental state. Okay, so these are the various types of depression. I don't think I have any question as of now, but if you have any question, please feel free to type in. The next thing which is important to understand is, what are the causes of depression? The causes, as you might be thinking that breakup, loss of jobs. No, these are not the causes of depression. These are the various, superficial factors which you think is leading to depression, but there are underlying causes of depression. The various underlying causes of depression are, the first is genetic cause. So if somebody is there in the family who has the history of depression, like mother, father, then there are chances are that you might have depression throughout at least once in your lifetime. Even there have been twin studies that have been done, which says that if one of the twin have depression, the other twin will also have a chance of developing depression. The second one is, the first one was genetic factor. The second one is the famous Sigmund Freud suggestion, is that if you are not able to express your anger outside, then the anger turned inside leads to blame and criticism, which leads to depression. So if you are repressing your anger constantly, that leads to self-blaming, leads to self-criticism, and that leads to depression. So the first one was genetic factor, the second one is self-blaming. Okay, the third one is when people feel they have not been able to work up or perform up to their potential, that impacts their ego. That can also lead to depression. These are the major causes. Now, if you now think about breakup, if you now think about loss of job, it will fit into various of these clauses. For example, loss of job can be that you have not been able to perform up to your potential. So that's why it hurts your ego and then you suddenly get into depression. So 3 reasons: genetic, the second one is when you are not able to express your anger and your anger is turned inward, that leads to depression as well. Third is when you are not able to perform up to your potential, that impacts your ego. The fourth one is called the interpersonal theories. Now, what are interpersonal theories? Those people who are not able to interact properly, do not have a proper social life, does not mix well with people, they often suffer from depression. Now, why do they suffer from depression? Because they are not able to mix up well with people. Often there is a thought process that the people are also rejecting them, so and they kind of avoid people, and that loneliness slowly seeps in, because of which you get into depression. And next one is cognitive reason, negatively focused. Whatever you are seeing, you are only seeing it from one point of view. You are not considering the other perspectives that can lead to the depression. So that is cognitive theory. So cognitive theory is like misrepresentation, misunderstanding of the situation that can lead to depression, or assuming things which can lead to depression. And the final one is, I think, the most important cause for depression. That is called learned helplessness. Anybody who can throw some light on, just by listening to this term, learned helplessness, can you tell me what is this learned helplessness? Trust me, any depressed patient I have met so far, everybody has displayed this characteristic, learned helplessness. Anybody, any idea, it can be right, wrong, doesn't matter. I just want to see if you know anything about this. Each one of us have displayed this learned helplessness at least once in our life. Any idea, anyone? I'll just wait for 30 seconds before I start explaining. Exactly. Wantedly feels I can't do. So, learned helplessness means you already tell yourself you have no control over a situation and you become passive. The moment you become passive, automatically you are losing control of the कोई भी बात को accept नहीं करना, कोई भी बात को accept नहीं करना, or I can just put it like this, that you feel that you have no control over the situation and you become passive. So you start losing control, and you feel more depressed. मैं क्या करूँ, मुझे मेरे हाथ में तो कुछ नहीं है, सब कुछ मेरे कंट्रोल के बाहर है. This is called learned helplessness. When you have already decided within yes, pampered, as well as you think you have no control and you become extremely passive and you start losing control of the situation. That is called learned helplessness. Now the question comes is, so far what we discussed is what is the difference between depression, sadness and trauma. What are the different symptoms of depression? How do you classify somebody as clinically depressed? We have also discussed what are the different factors or causes that underlies depression. And now the most important is the treatment. So as Chrysolite asked at the very beginning, so those people who feel they are depressed but they are not, how do we help them? I'll start with them first. So those people who think they are depressed but they are not, have them point down what are the symptoms they face and what do they do to overcome, and keep on asking questions like why, how and when, because their world is like this much. The more questions you ask, and they will keep on understanding that somewhere at some point of time they don't have any answers to the questions that you are asking, and then their fallacies of their thoughts are exposed. But if you tell them directly, no, it's not depression, you're sad, they automatically they will shut off, they will not listen to you, because they feel that, oh, you are not believing me. So we have to believe what they are saying. Okay, I agree that you are depressed. All right, so why this is happening? Why do you think you have lost interest? What are you doing about it? Why? What? Constantly chunking down till the time they don't have an answer. And then their fallacies are exposed. And that's when you start telling that what else we can do to come out of this helpless situation or helpless mindset. But mostly there are 4 major techniques that are used to treat depression. The world famous technique is something which I don't agree, and I do not ask any of my patients to go for, is antidepressants. I have seen a lot of people just pop in pills. Yeah, it will give you a temporary happiness, but after that what? After that again the depression will come back. After, if not now, at least after 6 months it will recur, because the root cause has not been solved. In certain situations you need antidepressants, like bipolar disorder you would need antidepressants, I understand. But major depressive disorder basically happens because they feel they are powerless, they feel they have no one to talk to, they want somebody to listen to them and help them out of the situation. So if that can be given, at least 70 to 80% of it can be cured, and the rest 20% can be worked upon slowly. And why am I being able to say this very confidently? Because throughout this so many years, I have actually taken people out of antidepressants, and they have come with antidepressants prescription. I have successfully taken them out of antidepressants. So that is one way of treating. A very older way of treating, but a very effective way, was electroconvulsive therapy. For people who do not understand electroconvulsive therapy, it is like giving electric shock. What happens is, when you give electric shock, the neural thing suddenly, there is this thundering or lightning thing that happens, and suddenly everything starts working fine. But it is not approved, of course. It is not a very approved way, but nobody has been injured or died because of ECT so far in the theory, in the history of psychology. The third one is my favorite, which is cognitive behavior therapy. When you try to understand the model of the world of the person, whoever is depressed, try to understand what are the reasons that is making the person feel like this, and slowly but steadily start working on this. There may be some automatic negative thinking that the person has. It is like this, so it is like that. So it is like, those cognitive distortions that person might have, that black or white, or they might not consider most of the thing, they will only focus on the things that they want to which actually reinforces their belief that they are depressed. So cognitive behavior therapy basically tries to change their thinking pattern and make them see that there are other perspectives, and that actually helps people to come out of depression. The next one is another one, which is interpersonal therapy. Interpersonal therapy is basically one-to-one session. One-to-one session might include CBT, one-to-one session might include the changes in lifestyle, one-to-one session would include certain practices they have to do, and there is no one formula for treating depression. Some people can be put into meditation, some people can be put into art therapy, some people can be put into a little bit of dance therapy, some people can be put into gratitude clover exercises, some people can also be put into forgiveness therapy. So there are different things that can be done in an interpersonal session. So it depends on the reasons behind your state of mind. So I would suggest through this session was only to create an awareness that what are the different reasons for depression and how you should differentiate between depression and any other state of mind. But it's an earnest request to everyone, please do not pop in pills. These pills have side effects. Antidepressants have long-term side effects. And I've seen patients who are on antidepressants for 20 years and now they are not able to come out because they have already, the damage is done. So instead of self-medicating or taking in pills, please consult someone. I'm not saying you have to consult me, but someone who will listen to you, who will talk you through, who will walk you out and completely resolve it from the root, not superficially. Depression can be treated, depression can be resolved, especially in the COVID times when people are losing jobs, losing their near and dear ones. It is very easy to fall into depression. talk to people, don't put yourself in a closet, don't put yourself in a room, because how you treat yourself also decides whether you will land up with depression or not. Okay, so just be more educated about these things, because the more you are aware, you will not only be able to understand the things in you, but you will also be able to understand and identify the symptoms in others and help another person too. Okay, and trauma, when it comes to trauma, just understand there has been a major life event, major life change, because of which it leads to trauma. Trauma cannot be dealt only with meditation, it needs a lot of effort. It might also need eye movement therapy, which will help you to forget that memory and come back to the reality. Is anger a symptom of any mental disorder? Anger is a byproduct, basically. I mean, sudden and hyper anger. Anger is a byproduct of a lot of disorder. Anger can be because of anxiety, anger can be also because of depression. But depressed people generally do not show anger, they will show agitation or irritation. But anger definitely comes out when they are trying to, there are two major reasons basically. When things don't go according to your plan and you get extremely angry, when you feel you're losing control over the situation, or when you're trying to cover up something and people are constantly poking you or constantly trying to find out what happened, you get extremely angry. Basically anybody trying to what should I say, cross the boundary that you have set for yourself, that leads to sudden anger. Sudden anger can also be because of certain past issues that you have, the past pent up emotions that is there within you, which has not been solved, because of which the sudden bouts of anger keeps on coming out. Because it's like if you are not solving an issue from the root, it will keep on coming up in ways and means throughout your life, and anger is one of such symptom. Okay, and for anger definitely meditation is extremely helpful, but along with meditation it is also important to understand the root cause behind this sudden outbursts, and the more we can resolve the root cause, the more the anger will subside, because nobody is born angry. No child is born angry. Anger is a mechanism, it's a defense mechanism that people imbibe as and when the life happens to them. Okay, so as I was talking about trauma, the one last thing that I want to say is, another thing that is done for trauma patient but not in depression patient is, in case of trauma there is something called EMDR, or rapid eye movement desensitization. So basically you are asked to think about the traumatic event and then that particular memory is distorted. So memory is exactly how you want to remember a particular thing, but you always have the option of remembering an event the way you want to remember. So that can also be done. So please do not box yourself as I am anxious, I am depressed, I am restless, I am this, I am that. Just say that these are the things that I am facing, what is wrong with me. So that is still okay, rather than labeling yourself with diseases. You have got a name, label yourself with that name, but don't label yourself with any disease, because that is adding more fuel to the fire. All right, so thank you so much everyone for listening to this. I hope this adds value to you. Please take conscious decision when it comes to depression, or when you see somebody who is going through depressive symptoms. Thank you everyone, have a wonderful day.